Good morning, Rechavia Nachlaot in Yerushalayim. What a pleasure and an honor to be able to share with you a Shiur this morning for the second Shiur for Perek Mem Aleph, chapter 41. And it's Chol HaMoed Pesach Hey Tafshin Pei 5780. And Pesach is a time for us to learn more Torah. And so therefore, today we'll be learning Tanya, and then we'll continue Bezrat Hashem on Thursday morning, where here in Yerushalayim it will not be Pesach anymore. And then and our friends in Chutz La'aretz will be able to follow up. Excuse me. We'll be able to follow up after Pesach on our class from Thursday. So today we're going to continue from Perek Mem Aleph. And yesterday we started to learn about the concept of Ahava v'Yira, love of Hashem and fear of Hashem. And we said that Ahava, love of Hashem, how is that expressed? By observing the positive mitzvot. We have 248 positive mitzvot, and through doing that, we build our love of Hashem. So a positive mitzvah is something that you do. It's a proactive thing. As opposed to a prohibitive mitzvah, where you refrain from not doing an avera, that is an act of yira. That is an act of fear. Sort of distance. Or as they say in Hebrew, distance. And being away, recognizing that Hashem is the awesome king, we make sure to keep ourselves away from, God forbid, violating any mitzvah in the Torah. And there are 365 of those prohibitive mitzvot. So 248 plus 365 equals 613. And those are all the mitzvahs of the Torah. So if you ask a regular person, which one would you say is better, or maybe you want to use the words more affectionate. So most people will say, and in a great sense that's true, most people will say that it's the act of doing the mitzvah, fulfilling the mitzvah, that brings you closer to Hashem. In the context of the Tanya, it's the ahava, it's the love, it's the closeness, it's the affection that we feel for Hashem every time we do a mitzvah that brings us closer. The refraining from not doing a sin, that is not necessarily something which brings us close. It's not necessarily something which would ring in our minds as being on the top of the list of affection. It keeps us away from doing bad, and it brings out Hashem's awesomeness. Okay, so that makes sense. However, we just finished saying that Ahava, our love for Hashem, is brought out by doing the positive mitzvot, and the prohibitive mitzvot, the yira, the fear, is by refraining from doing a sin. But I would like to suggest today that, in a sense, refraining from not doing a sin brings us even closer, brings the bond, is even closer with Hashem, even more than doing the positive mitzvot. And in a sense, the main mitzvahs are the lo taseh, thou shalt not do. By not doing this mitzvot, we, in a sense, become closer to Hashem than by the positive mitzvot. And I'm going to explain in a moment, but just let me mention what the Alter Rebbe says in the Tanya. We read it yesterday. Ulefachot, he says, afal pikei, nevertheless, lo dai, it is not enough l'orer ha'ava levada, levasei tov. Ulefachot, tzarich l'orer tchila ha'yir'ah ha'tiv'it, ha'mesuteret belev kol Yisrael. The main thing is to awaken the yir'ah, the fear of Hashem. So let me explain to you something really, really interesting. If someone wants to show their power, so to speak, over others, then the best way to do that is by saying, thou shalt not do. I can bring you a couple of examples. If you want to tell someone, just regular people, a friend, hey, please bring me a cup of water. Please bring me a coffee. Please buy me, I almost said something, an example of chametz. Please buy me a matzah. And so, you're a friend. You're close to the person. You're a spouse. You're family. So, of course, you're going to do it. But let's say you go over to someone in the street and you say, can you buy me a drink? I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. But some people will say, you know what? Even though I don't know who you are, I'm happy to do that. What does it cost? A couple of shekels? No problem. I'll go to the store and buy you a coffee. But then, when it comes to thou shalt not do, that can only be if you feel, if you're close to the person. If it's just walking off the street and you say, don't do this to me. Or don't you dare go and hit someone else. Or don't you dare go and do business with such and such a person. Excuse me? Who do you think you are? The response will be, I don't know you from Adam. I never saw you. Why should I follow? Why should I listen to what you're saying? But if it's someone that you know, or if it's someone that you respect their authority, and they tell you no, that's how you bring out someone's authority and someone's strong connection. To do something proactive, it's a nice thing, and even if you don't know the person, you can always listen. But if we're talking about thou shalt not do, that's only with an exalted figure, with someone that has a great authority, someone that is holy, someone that has an authority. A king, for example. If a king says do something, or moreover, do not do something, oh boy, you better listen. Because if not, as they say in Hebrew, oy vavoy. Or they also say in Hebrew, nu, 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 nu. You have to listen. Because if you don't listen, there could be a punishment awaiting the person. And so, how does a person bring out their true connection, their true, how does a person connect to another individual that their authority is really authentic? Then that's specifically by thou shalt not do. In other words, let's summarize this concept. By saying the mitzvot lo taseh, thou shalt not do, you should not kill, you should not steal, and so on and so forth, the bond with Hashem becomes much, much greater than if a person only fulfills the positive mitzvahs. Now obviously, we're not in any way belittling a mitzvah taseh. Mitzvah taseh is something very powerful and very meaningful. And you're bringing light. Every mitzvah that we do, we bring more light and more light. I'm not in any way belittling the mitzvah taseh. I'm just trying to emphasize the uniqueness and, in a sense, the superiority of the mitzvot lo taseh, that thou shalt not do. That by us observing, just simply not doing something bad, not killing, not stealing, not eating non-kosher, God forbid, not eating chametz on Pesach, just by the bare fact that we are not violating a sin, that is already a very, very strong connection with Hashem. And here's the good news. Not to say that the other part was not good news, but here's the better news. The better news is, did you know that when we observe a mitzvah, we get reward? But when a person does not commit a sin, in other words, when a person fulfills a prohibitive mitzvah, every single moment that we do not do a sin, we're fulfilling mitzvahs. So, just to bring the point across, every single moment that you don't kill someone, you're fulfilling a mitzvah. Wow. Lo tirtzach, lo tirtzach, lo tirtzach. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not eat chametz on Pesach. so on and so forth. Every moment we don't do a sin, we're already fulfilling a mitzvah. And this is what it means when it says, this is one of the interpretations when it says that Kol Yisrael, all of Am Yisrael, Mle'im mitzvot kirimon, are filled with mitzvahs like a pomegranate. So one of the interpretations is there are 613 pits in a pomegranate. I never counted. It's possible that there is, but there's no question that a pomegranate is full of pits. Same thing. No question, every single Jew is full of mitzvahs. This hopefully gives us another perspective at another Jew. Sometimes you see a person and we don't realize how they could even be anywhere, in any way connected to Hashem. It could even be that you even saw the person doing something very boldly, not along the lines of Torah mitzvot. But if you just think about the fact that every single Jew refrains every moment from not doing at least one prohibitive mitzvah, how much more so 365? That's a lot of mitzvahs. And so hopefully this gives us a different perspective of a Jew. No one can ever say, oh, this person that I know was a bad Jew. Or this person that I know never did mitzvahs. Or this person that I know always did sins. Always committed sins. Who are we to say, who are we to put a label on someone that a person didn't do mitzvahs? One of my friends was a chaplain in New York in one of the hospitals. He once told me that he, by part of his job, he tends to do funerals, unfortunately. He told this to me like 10, 15 years ago. And he meets families who he never knew. And in order to do a funeral, he has to find out a little bit about the individual. So he sits down with the family. It happens often. And by a funeral, it's very important to mention a mitzvah or some mitzvahs the person did. This becomes a great zechut, a great merit for the person's neshama. So he said, did he do this? Did he love Israel? Did he do that? And so he'll ask the person, the family, the kids or whatever, did your father ever keep Shabbos? So often they'll say, oh no, never. I've never kept Shabbos. So he responds, how can you say he never kept Shabbos? Who are we to say, who are we to decide on a person that they never kept Shabbos? The mere fact that there were many moments in every Shabbos that the person did not turn on a car. The mere fact that many moments the person didn't put on a light in his room. That itself makes the person a tzaddik. For those moments, yes, he kept Shabbos. And how do you know that there was at least not one time that he was about to get into the car to go somewhere, and he said to himself, "1 second, it's Shabbos." You were not around, and he made a special conscious decision to keep Shabbos. Isn't that unbelievable? And how is this? Now I'm wrapping this all around. What makes a person such a tzaddik? By the mere fact that he didn't do anything wrong. Wow. I'll bet you that there are so many mitzvahs today that are being done, and every day, and every month, every year, by so many Jews. This adds a lot of light to what the Rebbe said, that the world is ready for Mashiach. So people think to ourselves, 1 second, the world is ready for Mashiach. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to look around the world and see how evil some people are, and how many sins are committed. You don't need to be such a smart person. Unfortunately, the world is a crazy world. Now we realize that there is something that we don't even know. True, it's not a perfect world. True, there's a lot still to be finished. But we're not a tzaddik. We don't know what the world is classically supposed to look like when Mashiach is supposed to come. The Rebbe is a tzaddik, and the Rebbe said the world is ready. In other words, if we just take the example that I just said about so many people not committing sins, and how many mitzvahs that brings to the world, even if we're too simple to recognize it, that doesn't change the fact. The fact remains the same. That the world is a special world. The world is a holy world. People are good, far beyond than what we can see. And therefore, we have to change our view. We're the ones that have to change, not the world. We have to change our perspective on how we view other people, on how we view other Jews. And even it could be a person that does something blatantly wrong against Hashem. We have to help them. We have to embrace them. We have to bring them closer. We have to try hard. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're not ready for Mashiach.